Hey there guys, what's happening? It's Roy from Apotheca Marketing. We've talked a lot about analytics over the last year of videos with you guys. And one of the things that keeps coming up is we talk about Google Tag Manager. So we're going to take a little bit of a dive today into what Google Tag Manager is, if you're not familiar with it, and why it's probably a good reason or a good thing that you become familiar with it, because it's super useful and can save you a lot of time and hassle. So let's take a dive and talk about Google Tag Manager. Okay, so Google Tag Manager is a free tool from Google, which, you know, free for now because Google seems to be moving towards pay for everything. But that aside, it's free for now. And it allows you to manage all of the tags or pixels, those things that you need to put on your site for your various marketing programs. And so it lets you deploy and manage things like Google Analytics. And in fact, GA4 is really built for Google Tag Manager. To get the most out of your GA4 implementation, you really should be doing it through Google Tag Manager. But you can do other third-party tools as well. So you can put on, for instance, your Facebook pixel, which allows for you to track, it allows Facebook to track users on your site so that you can get conversion data and behavior and that type of thing that you can then feed into your Facebook and Instagram ads. Same thing for other programs like Pinterest and things like that. So it allows you to add those tags on your site without having to go into the code on your site or involve a developer or your IT team. If you are like many of our clients, IT teams are extremely busy and they have a lot of build time that is sometimes months. And so for them to add a pixel or a new piece of script to your site, a little code of JavaScript, they may need to put it into development, actually put it on the site. They may need to go through testing and then wait for deployment and then go through testing again. And so it literally can be months before you get that code on the site. And if it's analytics, if they're putting that on the site, maybe they're not the most familiar with your GA4 implementation. It's completely different than it used to be with Universal Analytics. And so, you know, they may not have the most recent information about GA4. They may not understand your business needs. They may not know what events you need, what things you need tracked on the site. And so for them to do that, it causes a lot of back and forth of communication. Things get missed. Testing has to happen every time a change is made or something is missed. You get the idea. It can take literally months to get your analytics deployed correctly or semi-correctly. And then you have to test it. And then if you need to make changes, it can take months later. So tag managers in general, not just Google's, were really devised and deployed on many sites just to cut through that multiple step process of trying to get things deployed on the site that is a marketing need. And so you can cut out the middlemen of IT and development and, you know, contractors and do a lot of it yourself. Now, I will warn you that some things with Google Tag Manager are pretty straightforward. It can get very technical and complicated as you get more technical and complicated with your implementations. So just deploying a Facebook pixel is relatively straightforward. But when you get into customizing events and pulling in data layers for GA4 and that type of thing, that does get more complicated. You may need to pull in your development team to help with that. One, to deploy a data layer, which is, you know, essentially pulling data from your website and then telling Google what to do with it. So that kind of stuff can get complicated, but, you know, it's something that you can you definitely rely on other resources because a lot of people are familiar with Google Tag Manager. Companies like ours can do that for you since Google Tag Manager is kind of ubiquitous. So working with it is relatively straightforward for people who are familiar with it. But it is something that if you're not familiar with, I do encourage you to start to explore it and start to learn about it because it can make your life as a marketer or an analyst a lot easier. So let's take a look at the essentials of Google Tag Manager so that you can get an idea of what we're talking about. So right here, I have a workspace that's already been created for an account. If you're just starting out, you would just go to tagmanager.google.com or just do a quick search on Google for Google Tag Manager and you will see it. When you're starting out, you're going to create a new account. You're going to name it. So in this case, I might name it test company and then you fill in your various information. You put in the name for it. So I generally use the website that we're going to be doing, but you could just put in test company or your company name. And then we're going to focus on website implementations. We're going to go ahead and create this. Then you agree to it. And this is where you will need to deal with code or get your development team or consultant development person involved, because this needs to go on your website. And this is the one piece of code that does need to be implemented on your website. And then after that, you don't need to involve them, because this just has to go in there. And it tells you where it needs to go. This one, it goes into the head of the website, and this one goes into the body. If you are doing that, for instance, we'll show you on this one. This is a Shopify site, and we will go into the edit code. And the theme. So this is the base theme, and this is the head that they were talking about. And so that would be pasted after that. And then you can just search for body. And this code is messy. And then you would just put it in the body. So you get the idea. That's not something you necessarily want to deal with, but it is the only time that you do have to deal with that. So similar implementations in WordPress or in Wix or Squarespace or any other platform that you're using, it would just need to go in the main theme. You just need to make sure that it's deployed on every page of the site. Once that is deployed, then you can go in and start creating new tags and triggers. So what is a tag and what is a trigger? So if you're looking at creating a new tag, so in this situation, these are the tags that are on the site right now. So you can see we have the main GA4 implementation that we have. We have a Facebook pixel that's on the site, and then we have a tag for clicks on certain buttons, and we want to track what those are. So let's start with something relatively easy, like the Facebook pixel. In this case, we used a custom HTML, pasted in the pixel, and then we had a trigger. So let's walk through what that means. Go to overview, I'm gonna go to new tag. We're just gonna call this test tag. I always, it depends on your taxonomy that you wanna have. I find it easier to start out with like tag, and then in this case, we might call it a Facebook pixel, and then you can give it whatever information that you want on there. But having that taxonomy helps you go through and understand what things are once you get a lot of them on the site. So just something to think about. So other people might know too what you've done and what it is that you've implemented. The tag configuration, once you click on that, you can see what you have here. You have like a whole bunch of pre-built tags. So obviously the Google Analytics configuration we've already done, but we'll look at that in a minute. Events, that is if you want to add a specific event to the site. So say it is that link tracking, or you need to add an event for an add to cart or purchase or form tracking. You can customize those there. Google Ads conversion tracking is just what it sounds like. That helps if you're running paid search for Google Ads to understand what's converting on the site and put that information into their algorithm so that they can market more effectively and understand how your ads are working. Remarketing is exactly what it sounds like. That helps track people coming to your site. So you can see there's custom HTML, there's custom images, and then there's all these third-party ones that just make deploying certain things easier. So if you know, for instance, that you're deploying, various ad platforms, that kind of stuff, Pinterest tags, it just is kind of pre-built for you to make it a little bit easier. So for something like the pixel tag, it literally is just a custom HTML. You would paste in that pixel JavaScript that comes from Facebook or whatever other third-party company that you're looking for or you're working with. So once that's done, then you can create a trigger. And what a trigger is basically defining when this happens. So do you want this trigger this thing to fire when somebody clicks on something, when they view something, when they scroll, when they just land on a page, when they land on a specific page? So you can get very, very high level of control about where this launches and what happens based on consumer behavior. So if it is a certain specific event or tag that you want to fire only on certain pages, then you can do that. But for something like analytics or a Facebook pixel or something like that, it's going to be on all pages. And so all that's saying is, if you make that the trigger, is if they go to a page on your site, it fires. So it doesn't matter. You can change that, obviously, like I said, to being clicks. So if you're tracking link clicks and that type of stuff, you can do that there, or it could be all clicks. So once you have the trigger and the tag, you would save that. I'm just going to discard that. And then you can submit it after testing. So one of the nice things about Google Tag Manager, other than having to avoid IT and all that, is that it allows you to test your tags. And so that's very important. For instance, with Google Analytics and GA4 implementations, you can preview those tags and make sure that they're firing correctly. So you can actually go to your website and do an event and make sure that it's firing. So let's take a look at, for instance, how that would happen. So let's look at the tags that are on here, and we have a button click tag, okay? And it says the event name is click button. So, and then it's passing information right here, event parameters. And again, this is getting into the more complex area that you're not necessarily going to want to worry about right away, but just so that you know what it can do. We've named the click button. We are following dynamic parameters that has the link text and the link URL. So when he clicks on a button, what did the button say, and what page was that button on? And it will pass that information to GA4. So like I said, one of the nice things is that you can preview this. And so let's take a look and preview it. And so it's just saying, this is the page you want to preview. It's loading that. All right, and so here's our page. You can see the tag assistant is running. It's measuring what we're doing on the site right now. So I'm going to click on book a call. That goes to the schedule a free consultation, which, by the way, you can schedule a free consultation with us and we can talk about your needs. So go ahead and do that. This is obviously sponsored by us. So, so you can go do that on our website. And so now what I can do is go into the tag preview, and I clicked on that button. So let's see what fired here. So I clicked on a link, and there we go. So it actually triggered that tag, that button click. And so that's being tracked. We can look at the variables that are involved. And again, don't get overwhelmed by all the data in this, but you can see that it will be passing a string called book a call, and it's showing the page that the string was on and where it came from. So it came from the home page. And so all of that data is in there. So you can see by testing this that the data is getting passed. So we can see that it's working correctly. You can also go into Google Analytics GA4 and look at the in the admin to look at let me show you, make sure I'm in the right account here. Apotheca Marketing. And we can look at the debug view. And in the debug view, it will show you the latest events on the site. Click button, that was the event name that we just talked about. So we can see that that did occur. It was getting tracked. And we can look at the various information about it. So we can see the text, it was book a call, and we can see the URL, which was the homepage URL. So that is how you can then test the information that is, if the tag is getting passed correctly, you can test that on your live site. Obviously, sometimes you will need to, you know, have access to the shopping cart or to be able to do test orders and that kind of stuff, depending on the types of tags that you're deploying. Obviously, contact forms are easier to do. You could do that and make sure that that information is getting passed. All right, so let's take a look at some other features here that is nice for the tag manager. So one of the nice things is with the tags is that there is a work history, and there is, you know, the ability to roll back. So you can see, for instance, who did something, when it was published, who published it, and then what they did. So when you publish a new tag, let's just go in and show you an example real quick of that. So if I were to do a new tag and just call it test tag, and we just want to do, let's say just do some HTML. I'm just going to leave it blank. And we're going to trigger it on all pages. I'm going to save it. No, it doesn't like it blank. I'm going to save it. All right, so now if you go into tags, we see there's the test. Then to launch that tag, you have to click submit and add a descriptive name. And so that's that name that shows up in the history. So typically I will just put what I did, you know, added a test tag. I might put a little bit more description in here, because you're going to have tags eventually that you don't remember what they were for, or if there's multiple people in here, they're going to wonder what it was or what it was about. And that's where you can put this information in here so they can see like what is going on with that. And then you would publish that tag. Now, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to keep this on here. So I'm actually going to not publish that. And I'm going to throw it away actually. Okay. So, like I said, you can go in and then look at the various versions and see who published it, when they did it, when it was changed, the things that it's affecting, and all that kind of stuff. So that way, if something's going wrong, something's not tracking correctly, maybe something needs to be changed, you can know who did it and that kind of thing. You can also easily remove it. You can roll back to an earlier version of your workspace. So like I said, you have all of your tags in here, then you have all of your triggers in here. Those again are what is used to really say, hey, this is when we want it to launch. And so it could be anything from a click to a scroll to anything like that. Variables, that's probably getting a little more complex, but those are things that you can add that are, you know, pulling in data from the site and that kind of stuff, or an event, but probably not what we want to cover today. It gets a little too complex. So again, this is the basic kind of interface. The only thing we didn't really touch on is admin. That's just what it sounds like. You can actually then say who can get into the container, who can use various things, what they're able to do. The container structure of the site is you can have an overall account, and we'll show you one that has multiples. So you can have an overall account that then has multiple websites underneath it, and that will helps you just manage that. So it can be under one company, it could be under multiples, but it just lets you manage. If you have, for instance, 10 sites, you can keep it under that one container, or you can do them individually. It all depends on your business needs. So that's a quick overview of Google Tag Manager. Like I said, it's going to help you cut down on time that you need to implement your tags and get those rolled out. You can deploy things like Google conversion tags or Facebook pixels or Pinterest pixels or whatever advertising platform you're working with. Testing tools, you know, all that kind of stuff can be deployed using this, and you can create rules around how that's deployed. So those triggers, whether it's throughout the site, whether it's on specific actions and that kind of stuff. So it cuts down the time to deployment. It helps you manage those. One of the things, for instance, that can slow websites down is too many tags. And so we've seen clients that have 50, 60 different tools deployed on their site. And over the years, nobody even knows what they're for. There might be multiple old versions. It could be tools that you don't use anymore, but all of that's still on there. So it's just adding that much more stuff that needs to get loaded on your site every time it loads. And a lot of it's garbage. So this will give you the ability then to very easily, if it's a tool that you're not using anymore, or if you don't even know what it is, or it looks suspicious, you can shut it off, or you can delete it and not have to wait for IT to do that. So it lets you manage your tags. It lets you manage your tools. You can see who's doing it, the version control, and it just helps you organize it a lot more. So we'll be going into more detail with Google Tag Manager in the future, but if this was useful, let us know. If you have questions, also let us know. And of course, give us a like, because that helps out the channel and lets us know that you're interested in this kind of content. But if you've run into problems, or if you have other things that you're doing with Google Tag Manager or questions about it, let us know. We're happy to answer, and we'll see you in the future as we do more of these videos. Have a great day.